Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take topics you're curious about, dig into the sources, and pull out the most interesting bits for you.
Basically, yeah, we do the homework so you get the key takeaways.
And today we're diving into the LEED plus C New Construction V5 certification. Specifically, that section on compact and connected development.
It's all about encouraging smarter growth, thinking about land use, walkability, transport, that kind of thing.
We've got excerpts straight from the LEED V5 docs to guide us.
Should be interesting.
Definitely. And hey, if you enjoy exploring topics like this, make sure you hit subscribe so you catch all our future deep dives.
Good point.
Okay, so compact and connected development. Let's unpack that. It's not just about the building itself, right? It's more about where it is.
Exactly. Where you build matters. How does it fit into the neighborhood, the existing infrastructure? LEE really focuses on that.
And what's clever is they offer different ways, different options for projects to show they're being thoughtful about location.
Yeah, it's not one size fits all. They recognize different projects have different opportunities depending on where they are.
Right. So option one is surrounding density.
Mm-hmm.
The idea here seems pretty simple, like build where people already are.
Basically, yeah. Use existing infrastructure, avoid sprawl onto undeveloped land. It makes sense.
So how do they measure that? Like what counts as dense enough?
They look at the area within a quarter-mile radius of the project site,
Okay.
and they measure density in a couple of ways. There's combined density, that's total building square footage per acre of buildable land.
Buildable land. Okay.
And then separate density, that looks at residential units per acre, and non-residential density, which they measure using floor area ratio, or FAR.
Got it. So give us an example. How many points can you get?
Well, for 1 point, you need to hit certain thresholds, like 22,000 square feet per acre combined density,
Okay.
or you could have at least 7 homes per acre, plus a non-residential FI of 0.5.
And for 2 points.
Those numbers go up. You'd need 35,000 square feet per acre, or maybe 12 homes per acre with a 0.8 FAR.
And that buildable land clarification is important, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. It means you're not counting like parks or rivers or steep slopes in that density calculation. It focuses on the land that could actually be developed.
Right. Gives a truer picture of how built up the area really is.
Precisely.
Okay, moving on. Option 2 is access to transit.
Yep. Encouraging public transport use. Pretty crucial.
And again, a couple of ways to approach this, or paths, as they call them.
Path 1 is public transit service. This is about proximity and frequency.
So how close do you need to be?
For things like regular buses or streetcars, stops need to be within a quarter-mile walk.
Quarter mile.
For higher capacity stuff, BRT, rail stations, ferry terminals, it's half a mile.
But just being close isn't enough, you said.
Nope. Frequency is key. They set minimum numbers of trips per day.
For weekdays and weekends.
Both. For 1 point, you need a combined total of, I think, 72 trips on a weekday and 30 on a weekend day across all qualifying nearby stops.
72 and 30. Yeah.
Okay, but if you want the maximum, which is 4 points, that jumps way up. You're looking at 360 weekday trips and 216 weekend trips.
Wow. Okay. So they really want to see robust service.
Definitely. And they have rules for counting, too. Like you use the lowest service day for weekdays, the highest for weekends.
To avoid gaming it with, like, one busy day.
Exactly. And if one route has multiple stops nearby, you only count the trips from one stop.
Makes sense. What about planned transit, if something's coming soon?
Yeah, they allow for that if it's, properly sited, funded, and expected to be running within a reasonable time frame.
Okay. And what's path 2 under access to transit?
That's project-sponsored transit service. This is where the project itself provides the transit.
Like a shuttle bus.
Exactly. It could be a shuttle. It needs to run year-round for occupants and visitors for at least 3 years.
And you get points based on how many trips it makes.
Yep. There are minimum daily trip thresholds for 1 or 2 points, and you also need to provide a proper accessible shelter at the stop.
That seems like a good option for places maybe a bit further out from the main public transit network.
It is. It encourages developers to bridge that gap themselves.
Okay, option 3, walkable location. This feels intuitive. Building places where you can easily walk to things.
Totally. It's about convenience, reducing car trips for daily needs. Again, 2 ways to earn points here.
What's the first?
Using WalkScore. You probably know it. It's that online tool.
Yeah, rates locations based on walkability.
Right. So a score of 60 to 69 gets you 1 point. 70 to 79 gets 2 points. And 80 or above gets 3 points.
Higher score, more walkable, more points. Simple enough.
Pretty much. It reflects proximity to amenities like shops, parks, schools.
And the second way, if you don't use walk score?
You can directly count the number of different publicly available uses within a half-mile walk.
Publicly available uses, like stores, restaurants, libraries.
Exactly, things people might walk to. If you have 4 to 7 different types of uses nearby, that's 1 point. 8 to 10 gets 2 points, and 11 or more gets 3.
Are there any catches to counting those?
A few important ones. You only count one type of use per business. So a big store with a cafe inside is still just one use, usually the main one.
Wow.
And you can only count a maximum of 2 uses of the same type. So 3 pizza places nearby only count as 2.
Ensures variety.
Right. And the uses you do count have to come from at least 3 different categories like food retail, services, community facilities, recreation, etc. It forces a good mix.
That makes sense. You need a range of things to walk to, not just 10 coffee shops.
Precisely.
Now, I mentioned schools specifically here. They seem to get a bit of extra focus.
They do. Schools can earn up to 6 points by meeting requirements from any combination of those first 3 options we just discussed, the density, transit, and walkability ones.
6 points. That's significant.
It really emphasizes how important it is for schools to be well located and accessible. Benefits students, parents, everyone.
Okay, option 4. Surrounding density and development. How's this different from option 1?
It adds another layer. Path 1 is basically just meeting the surrounding density requirements from option 1 again.
Okay, same as before.
But path 2, called connected site, looks specifically at whether you're building on previously developed land.
So infill development or reusing sites.
Exactly. And it also looks at what your site borders. If at least 25% of your property line touches other previously developed sites, that's an adjacent site and worth 1 point.
25% touching developed land.
If that goes up to 75% or more, it's considered an infill site, and that gets you 2 points.
Does bordering a road count?
No. That's a key exclusion. Rights of way don't count. It's about the actual land use next door. And borders with water bodies are also excluded from the calculation.
Got it. So it really promotes building within existing developed areas.
Yes, curbing sprawl, connecting new stuff seamlessly with the old.
Then option 5, access to transit or pedestrian access, seems tailored specifically for schools.
It is. Path 1 is, again, just meeting the standard access to transit requirements from option 2.
Yeah.
But Path 2 is unique to schools. It's about pedestrian access, making it easy for students to walk to the school.
How do they measure that?
They look at the school's attendance boundary, the area where students live, and they set maximum walking distances from homes to a school entrance.
Different for different ages?
Yeah. It's 0.75 miles for younger kids up to 8th grade or age 14, and 1.5 miles for older students, 9th grade and up.
And there needs to be a safe way to walk.
Yes, a requirement for safe pedestrian access from all residential parts of that attendance zone.
And how do schools get points for this?
It's based on the percentage of homes within the attendance boundary that fall inside those walking distance limits. 50% gets 1 point, 60% or more gets 2 points.
Really incentivizes choosing school locations carefully for walkability.
Absolutely.
Now, what about buildings like data centers or warehouses? They often have different location needs.
True. They can still use options 1, 2, or 3 if applicable, but LE also gives them a specific alternative. Option 6, surrounding development and resources.
Okay, what does that involve?
Path 1 is development and adjacency. It rewards locating on a previously developed site that was already industrial or commercial. That's 1 point.
Reusing industrial land.
Right. And you get a 2nd point if that site is also an adjacent site, meaning at least 25% of its border touches parcels currently used for industrial or commercial purposes.
Similar logic to the general adjacent infill site points.
Very similar, but focused on compatible industrial commercial uses.
And path 2 for these buildings.
That's transportation resources. Makes sense for logistics-heavy buildings.
Right, access to highways, rail.
Exactly. You get points based on having proximity to or direct access to things like a main logistics hub within 10 miles,
Okay.
a highway on-off ramp within 1 mile, an active freight rail access point within 1 mile, or being served directly by an active freight rail spur.
And how many of those do you need?
Having 2 of those gets 1 point. Having all 4 gets 2 points. Again, planned resources can sometimes count if they meet certain criteria.
Okay, that covers the warehouses and data centers.
Right.
What about healthcare facilities?
Similar structure. They can use the main options 1, 2, or 3.
Right.
But they also have a specific option 7 focused just on surrounding density. It's a way for them to get 1 point based on density criteria, tailored a bit for healthcare contexts.
Also,
They can meet it one of 3 ways within that quarter-mile radius. A certain residential density combined with a minimum FAR,
Hmm.
or meeting that 22,000 square feet per acre of buildable land threshold we discussed earlier.
Okay.
Or, interestingly, for rural healthcare campuses redeveloping a previously developed site, there's a specific minimum development density required on the campus itself.
So slightly different ways to demonstrate density, recognizing their unique situations.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a lot of options and paths there. Density, transit, walkability, reusing land, specific needs for schools, warehouses, healthcare.
Yeah, it's quite comprehensive.
When you pull it all together, what's the main thrust here? What's LED really trying to achieve with this whole compact and connected development credit?
I think the big picture is clear. Where you build is critically important for sustainability. It's not just how you build, but where.
Right. Location, 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 but with a green twist.
You could say that. They're pushing development towards existing infrastructure, towards places where people can walk or take transit, and encouraging the reuse of land that's already been developed. It's about efficiency and livability.
Using land smarter, reducing our reliance on cars.
Exactly. It's all geared towards creating communities that are, well, more sustainable and, frankly, often more pleasant to live in.
It definitely makes you think differently about new construction projects.
Absolutely. And it raises a good question for you listening. When you consider all these criteria, density, transit access, walkability, infill development, what do you see as the biggest challenges and maybe the biggest opportunities in actually creating more of these compact connected communities in practice?
That's a great question to chew on. Where are the roadblocks and where's the potential? Definitely something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for digging into this with us today. It's been a fascinating look at how location plays into green building.
My pleasure.
And if you found this deep dive helpful and want more insights into the system shaping our built environment and our world, please do subscribe to The Deep Dive. We'll be back soon with another exploration.